include analysis, pottery analysis, rock art, geoarchaeology, geology, and geography. And he's a field archaeologist. He has led several excavations in Tamil Nadu, Andhra, and Karnataka, and has a rich field experience. Some of them are excavations in Thiruvarkad, Bekal Fort, Kurnool district, and so on. He has also published several articles in both international and national forums, journals, in the area of archaeology. He's currently working as excavation in charge in the Department of Ancient History and Archaeology at the University of Madras. Today, he'll be delivering this lecture on evidence of existing and semantic memory from Kurnool district, rock art, a cognitive insight. This is based on his findings about the rock art found in the Kurnool region. This is also coming at a time when we are planning to curate an exhibition on rock art. So very happy to invite him and also to invite all of you. At the end of his lecture, probably you will have some questions. He will take a few questions. So now I invite.
Good evening to everybody. So first of all, I would like to thank Sundar sir for inviting me for giving a lecture on the findings from whatever I am doing research since 2009. So as an archaeologist, can I try to? Yeah. Thank you. So as an archaeologist. So the archaeology as a discipline, you uh, those who are here, you might be knowing about it is basically an interdisciplinary subject. So every discipline can be basically included in this. So in this subject. So in order to understand various aspects relating to the material remains which are found from different parts of India or else world, we use different science to understand those material remains. So, right from prehistoric times till modern period, we use science geology, then paleobotany, then paleozoology, then max, stats, and various sciences. We use those sciences to understand our history in a much more so that we can narrate the history in a much more meaningful and much more in an authenticate manner. So, as an archaeologist, when I started working on Kurnool district, I was basically working with a team of collaboration, which was basically headed by Ravi Kolista from Karnataka University, then Michael Pataglia from Cambridge University. So we have been working on those area on Paleolithic findings. So we have been excavating various rock shelters, caves. Bilasagam cave was excavated during 2004, starting from 2003 to 2006, and we have found many important aspects relating to prehistory of South India, which has basically made our understanding of prehistoric past from this part of India in a much more meaningful manner. For example, the Toba was basically the Toba. We studied those Toba ash to understand how human evolution and various aspects of human evolution in this part of the world. So, because of the excavation conducted in these areas, Kannur district, we have excavated rock shelters which have yielded the earliest dated microliths dating back to more than 32,000 years before. And we have pre-Toba, the Toba which erupted in somewhere on 74,000 in Indonesia. that flew and it came to India. It fell down in India some around 74,000 years back. That ash was found at Jolapuram or in Kannur district. And we have found various cultural materials from the early phase as well as the later phase, above Toba and below Toba. So that shows and we try to understand the technological aspect of the stone tools which were basically excavated by us. We did some statistical analysis being compared with the African ones and the European ones to understand whether these stone tools were made by which hominid species. So as you know that we don't have any fossil remains from India. Only one fossil has been discovered till now, which is called as Narmada man. So apart from this fossil, we don't have any fossil remains to show that who were the guys who were the hominins who were basically from this part of India. And in order to address those issues, when we study the technological aspect from the pre-Toba, we understood that the hominid species who were making the stone tools in pre and post period were same. So we compared it with the African ones, and we came to know that those are the peoples. The technology was most similar to the technology which was from South Africa and East Africa, which are made by Homo sapiens, dating back to some around 70 or 80,000 years before. No, 1,20,000 years before, 70 to 1,20,000 years before. So we indirectly said that these stone tools could be basically made by Homo sapiens. As we don't have any fossil evidence, we weren't able to surely say that these were made by Homo sapiens. Then we started working on various aspects related to the post or else late Pleistocene deposits. We excavated Bilasagam Kale, Muchatta Chintamanagavi. Then we excavated rock shelters from Jolapuram, again from Kannur district, and we understood many important aspects related to prehistory of that particular region in Kannur district, Andhra Pradesh. So after I joined Madras Christian College, I wanted to survey these areas. Like I started surveying these areas. In that particular time, I was able to see a particular type of landscape which can be called, which geologically or geography is called as mesa land. Mesa lands are basically uplifted land. They are uplands, and on top of those lands, because of faulting activity, you will find small valleys are formed. Okay, so those valleys are formed due to faulting activities, and it became deepened as time passed because of weathering activity and weathering caused by chemical reaction as well as water. So as it got deepened, the mesa formation, the uplifted land, is basically formed of a stone which is called as quartzite. So these quartzites have beddings and joints. Okay, beddings and joints. So as these have beddings and joints, the water percolates from these joints and it reaches the bedding, and it because of weathering activity, it starts it got detached from the parent rock and it fell into the valley because of gravitation pull. So when it fell down in the valley, those are small valleys measuring from some around 6 to 8 meters. Okay, 6 to 8 meters, and sometimes you'll find some around 15 to 20 meters of wider valley we have found. Okay, so there in this mesa formation, we have found some around 14 valleys, major and minor valleys we have found, and almost all valley had the evidence of rock art on these rock shelters. And till now we have discovered some around 262 rock shelters have been discovered, and this is the largest complex of rock shelters or representation of rock art which are found in southern part of India. So nowhere else it can be basically matched with the Bimbed caverns. Okay, and if you come join all the findings from Kannur district, it is almost on par with the Bimbed caverns. So there may be basically in Bimbedka we have 500 plus rock shelters which have been inhabited by our ancestors, and here we might be having some around 6 to 700 rock shelters. This might be a little bit larger than the Bimbed caverns. If you combine all the rock shelters from Kannur district, I'm just talking about a smaller place which is called as Uttarpadu and Chanakapalli complex, which had yielded 262 rock shelters. So when I started the survey, as I started finding rock shelters with rock art, I wanted to understand. I'm not an expert in rock art or understanding the symbolic meaning behind these art representation. So I'm basically I worked on lithic stone tool and stone tool analysis. I know a little bit of stone tool and stone tool analysis, and my PhD is based on the stone tool analysis. So as I'm not like I wanted to know more about rock art, I started reading more articles regarding like how to understand the rock art. So here, understanding rock art is very important because from prehistoric period we have basically a few material remains which can basically talk about the cognitive or its behavioral aspect of our ancestors. Okay, the cognitive ability of our ancestors, and these material remains in the form of stone tools. Stone tools are basically the best material which could be used for understanding the cognitive or behavioral aspect of our ancestors. And by doing stone tool analysis, lithic analysis, you can be sure about like what our ancestors, the particular napper who was making that particular stone tool, what he was thinking. So we can basically, as the stone tool have scars, small depressions, these depressions are basically it is considered to be fossilized behavior of the particular napper who made that particular stone. So this is really interesting because in history we talk about like a society or else a ruler. We are not able to speak about a single human what he was doing, but in prehistory you can basically talk about a particular napper, what he was doing, what he was thinking. So why he basically turned the stone to remove a flake. So that kind of behavior ability of our ancestors could be got understood by doing lithic analysis. In order to confirm those whatever we found from the lithic analysis, we can use experimental archaeology to make it 99.9% accurate. There will be like 1% of error because of many reasons. So with the help of these the material remains like stone tool, we can talk about the culture, the cognitive ability of our ancestors. And this is basically indirect evidence to understand the behavior of our ancestors. But there are like from prehistoric past, there is one more evidence which talks about the direct evidence, evidence which talks about the behavior or what our ancestors were thinking. So actually, the cognition means the way our ancestors or else a human being is basically seeing the environment and how he is conceiving the environment, and how in what way the environment could be basically used. Those aspects which deals about these issues can be grouped as cognitive. So our ancestors, when they started drawing on the rock shelter in the form of rock art, they were basically seeing they were visualizing what they were seeing in the landscape, and they were basically transforming into art form by with the help of paints, with the help of depression like petroglyphs and various other forms you will find. So for understanding these cognitive aspects, like the rock art is the best evidence which are direct, which is much more direct and straight. Like you can see what he was thinking, a particular artist was thinking, or a particular prehistoric man was thinking. So I'll just skip a few of the front ones. So here, in memory, cognition is basically, as I said, like how we basically see our environment and how we process the environment, and those aspects are basically can be grouped into cognition. And in order to do that, we need to know few things about memory. So in memory, like we have a model which talks about like information process model. Here we have like three types of memory, which is basically one is sensory memory, the second one is short term memory, and the third one is long term memory. So here, like the sensory memory is basically it lasts only half a second. Okay, so it lasts only half a second, and it when this half a second or sensory memory, when it is transformed into when it is processed in our mind, it becomes a short term memory which lasts around 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, so for example, for remembering the numbers, so within that also we have like various variables which has to be understood. So in short term memory you will find like various numbers which are memorized by us, which could be basically a short term, uh, and that can be basically if we start remembering, we when we start basically continuously what do you say repeating those numbers, our mind basically grasps those numbers and transform that memory into as a long term memory. So the memory goes between three processes, and usually the sensory memory and short term memory are usually forgotten. The long term memory can be basically it gets slotted into different categories. So it can be basically a few hours, and it can be basically few weeks, or it can be few months, or it can be years, or it can be lifelong. Our brain basically categorizes these memories into different categories, and depending on what we need, what are the the need of the particular hominid at that particular landscape or environment, we basically retain those memories. So okay, so in relation, by understanding these things, the memory and cognition, in order to understand these aspects, like rock art is the best evidence. So what is rock art? Rock art is basically, it can be it can be petroglyphs or pictographs. Pictographs are basically painted on the rock, like something is applied on the rock surface. Petroglyphs are basically, they are depression made with the help of stones to make some kind of art form or some kind of figures. And the rock art starts we have the earliest evidence of rock art dating back to like what do you say, upper Paleolithic period from Indian subcontinent. So from Bhimbetka, when Vakankar was doing research on Bhimbetka rock shelters, when it was excavated, he found out that like from a particular layer which had yielded upper Paleolithic stone tools, he had got green ochre. So the green colored paint on the rock surface was dated back to upper Paleolithic period. So on the basis of that only, we say that the earliest dated rock art from India could be dated back to Upper Paleolithic period, and most of the rock art from Indian subcontinent are dated back as early as Mesolithic period. And with regard to the style, style, and with the help of style and color and themes, you can basically date a particular rock art. In modern days, we use modern techniques to date these rock arts. So we use uranium thorium dating, where you will find on the surface of the rock art, you will find calcium carbonate deposit, and those calcium carbonate deposits have uranium. So when the uranium is exposed to atmosphere, it decays into thorium. So you can basically calculate the amount of decay, and you can give a date, the base minimum date of that particular rock art. So apart from this, there are many other techniques which could be used in rock art, dating a rock art, like radiocarbon dating. If you find what do you say, pigments which have been used, like the organic some kind of organic is used as a binding agency for painting on the rock surface, that can be basically dated with the help of radiocarbon dating. So this is an example of pictograph, where you will find a color was basically applied on the surface of the rock shelter to show whatever they were seeing. Then we have like different colors, like white, red is there, then white is there, then black is there. Okay. So different colors have been used right from prehistoric times till historical period. Then these are basically petroglyphs, where like depressions were made on the surface of the rock art to represent whatever they wanted to convey the message. Okay. Okay, so where are these rock art formed? So these rock arts are formed on caves and caverns, then rock shelters, then megalithic monuments from southern part of India, from Krishnagiri, then Dharmapuri, then southernmost part of India. You will find most of the megalithic burials have paintings within the burials of dolmens. And apart from this, like portable materials will are the portable materials in the form of flakes or small stones. They do they too do they also have the art representation. These are flakes dating back to Neolithic period, and these are from Kurnool, Bellary district, where it has been excavated, and we have found these incised stones, flakes, which could be dated back to Neolithic period. Okay, these are rock shelters where you'll find a O hang, and on the surface of the rock shelter you will find humans were dwelling in this place, and on the surface of the rock, on the face of the rock, you will find rock art. Then we have caves from Europe, from from India. We don't have any evidence of cave art. These are basically examples of burial, rock art within the burial. These are portable material. So we have evidence on the ostrich eggshell. Then we have flakes, dolerite flakes, which have designs. Then we have bones as well as limestone, which had designs on the in the form of art. So how these rock art were made? So the rock arts were made with the help of various minerals. So mineral in the form, like it is naturally occurring. So for example, if you want to basically, if they wanted red color, they use hematite to make red ochred painting. And if they wanted white, they used calcium carbonate to make a white color painting. And if they wanted black color, they used charcoal. Apart from this, we have different minerals which were used by our ancestors, like sulfur. Sulfur was basically found, and they are yellowish, greenish yellow in color. That was also used in rock art from Bhimbetka and other complex. And we have green color, as I said, the earliest painting dating back to Upper Paleolithic are the green colored. They used organic material for depicting whatever they were thinking, or else whatever they were conceiving, or whatever they were seeing on the in the environment. So these are basically the hematite found from the study area which I am working on, and here you'll find striated marks which shows that they had rubbed against a harder surface to basically extract the powdery substance of red color. So what are the different, why they depicted these rock art, and what are the different aspects which are found in these rock arts are basically economic activities like hunting, then hunting scenes, then we have social activities, then we have cultural activities and food gathering activities, and other scenes like in the form of geometric and non-geometric, which are basically abstract, which we are not sure what they meant. Those kind of geometric designs are also found in these rock art. So how to understand these rock art? In order to understand these rock art, we use three methods. One is basically informal method, then formal method, and analogy. So informal methods are basically passed on through generation and generation. For example, the rock art found from Australia, they have their own stories relating to those rock art. Then we have formal method, which are direct representation of what they saw. If they wanted to draw a particular deer or a horse, they basically, after seeing that particular horse or deer, they exactly drew on the surface of the rock. So they In formal method, whatever they represent, it meant that particular image itself. So representing the area. So if you know something about a particular, for example, if you understand it's and you have points of why understanding can understand the it's also. Okay, so history I just skip that. So these are the like distribution of rock art from Indian subcontinent. And here we have Bhimbetka, complex of Bhimbetka. And then we have clusters of rock art from different parts of India. Then Andhra Pradesh we have. Then from Karnataka region we have. Then we have from Tamil Nadu few of rock arts dating back to like some around Iron Age, and only one or two rock art are dated back to Mesolithic period. And we have from Kerala, and we have from northernmost where these rock arts are dated back to like Neolithic period. The earliest rock art is dated back to Neolithic period. Apart from that, recent findings have suggested that could be pushed back to Mesolithic period. Then we have from Orissa region, we have another cluster. So these are the cluster. Most of these clusters are concentrated because of the landscape which are associated with that particular area. Okay. So let me basically start with the study area. So the study area, it comprises of basically that particular area is called as Uplapadu Chanakapari complex. So this is basically situated in Kurnool district, and these two complex are like hardly 25 kilometers apart from each other. And in between these two regions, you have the Jolapuram, which is dating back to 74,000 years before. And within the Jolapuram also, we have basically rock art dating back to Mesolithic period. So there are in Kannur district itself, you will find 6 clusters, which I was talking to you about earlier. If you combine all these clusters, all these 6 clusters, it can basically go beyond Bhimbetka rock shelters. So these, like as I said before, from the study area, I had found some around 260, 2 to 67. Recently, we have found 5 more rock shelters, and right now it is 267. Out of this 267, this is a map of this is the upland region which I'm talking to you about. It is basically kidney shaped, and these are the quartzitic formation. And here you will find the dark region. They are basically valleys. So there are some around 14 valleys are there. Within these valleys you will find rock shelters. So here we have Uplapadu, then this Chanakapalli complex, which is much more smaller, and in between that we have Jolapuram site, which has Ila Toba ash. And beyond that, we have basically here we have Buganpalli, another complex. Then we have Ketavaram, which is on the northern side, very close to Kurnool district, and another complex which is called as Ketavaram. Then I forgot the name. Sorry. So these complex, if you combine all these complex, you will the number of rock shelters will go beyond the rock shelters found from Bhimbetka region. Contour map of in this contour map, you can see on the western side, this landscape is uplifted. As you go eastwards, it slopes. And in these small valleys, you will find the dotted, marked ones are rock shelters. So here we have some around 167 rock shelters have been found from Uplapadu, and some around 65 to 67 have been found from the next region, which is basically Chanakvali complex. Okay, so how these landscapes look? They look as basically if you walk on the surface of the landscape on the mesa formation, it will be flat. So as you walk towards the valley formation, there will be basically sudden depression because of these valleys formed due to faulting activities. Okay, so here you will find the flattened, uplifted mesa formation, and within that we have smaller valleys like this. And these rocks, they detach from the edge of the rock or bedrock formation due to bedding, joints and beddings, and they fall into the valley in these kind of rock shelter, like these kind of rock. And these rocks were used by our ancestors at a later period. So these are basically the valley floor, and here you have basically rock shelters which are inhabited by our ancestors. There are like more than 10,000 rock shelters are there, and apart, like as there are so many rock shelters, but very few have been inhabited by our ancestors. We are still trying to basically understand why they have selected the particular kind of rock shelters, which they have done. We don't know, because most of the rock shelters looks almost similar, and they have same kind of basically overhang formation, but we don't know why they have selected the particular rock shelters where they have made the rock art. So here you find basically the valley, flattened then valley, then these are the rocks, and on the base of the rock you'll find rock art. So these are overhangs where you'll find rock art. Geography, I will just flip. So the findings from these rock shelters, the exploration, we have found like hematite with straight marks, then stone tools, blades, which could be dated back to Mesolithic period. Then we have heat treated artifacts, and right now I have sent the samples for getting a thermoluminescence dating, TL dating. As these are heat treated, this can be dated. So in India, we are for the first time we are doing a TL dating on lithic artifacts. So till now, nobody has tried on dating the lithic artifacts, heat treated lithic artifacts. We have sent the sample to various labs, and I'm basically waiting for the results. So these are the cores, and we have bones. So as you know that like these rock shelters, and these rock shelters are found in valleys, and the valleys, here you'll find the patination of sediments. So as you can find, it is like more than 1 meters of deposit have been washed away, right from Mesolithic, or when the rock shelters were made. You can see how high these rock art were made, and you can see where a particular person is standing, how high it is, and it is highly impossible to make a rock art by standing here. By standing here, a particular person can't make a rock art on these kind of surface so high, and this is hardly like it is more than 3 meters higher. So when we try to when we looked closely on the rock surface, we saw these sediment patination, which indicated that most of the sediments have been washed away, and on the surface we were finding bones, stone tools, and various other material remains which were basically used by our ancestors. So the different rock arts found from this region are basically, we have basically here we have it looked like a ostrich. We are not sure. Apart from this, we have like a different species of like animals like deers, like antelopes. Then we have like boars, different species of boars. Then we have like they have depicted, what do you say, birds have been depicted, insects have been depicted, then butterflies have been depicted, then lions have, like we have rock shelters which have the depiction of lion, then tiger, then various other animals and aquatic animals have been depicted on these rock shelters. So I'm just showing you the important ones. So we have here basically with the help of D-Stretch software, we were able to separate the faded images. So most of these the rock art are in faded condition. as the time passes, like because of exposure to air, because of exposure to sunlight, most of these rock art are basically in a deteriorated manner, and it like we are not able to find what kind of animals were depicted on these rock shelters. So with the help of these research, we were able to see the outline of the animals, and we were able to trace what are the different species which have been depicted on these rock shelters. We have basically here what is it, tortoise which are depicted. Then like another it seems to be like a giraffe, where it has a long neck, and the like a like a canine species. It seems like it is basically catching hold of the mouth of the giraffe. And this is unique because most of the hunting scenes from northern part of India or eastern part of India or central part of India, you'll find humans are depicted in hunting. Here, the animal is depicted in hunting scene. So it is a unique finding from this part of India. So apart from this, we have like bird species which looked almost like a ostrich. We are not sure. We are still working on that. We are with the help of morphometric analysis. We are trying to understand whether we are trying to basically match with the different species of bird with the morphological features which are found in these rock art. Then we have the sus or else the pig species. Then we have different species of antelopes, where you will find here there are many species. Then apart from this, we started we started looking into a new species which is nowhere found in Indian continent. So this looks almost like a marsupial species, where you'll have a ears like rounded ears with a pointed, and you'll find the both the hands are kept straight, facing upwards, and it has a pot belly, long tail, with and it seems like they are standing on two legs. Okay, so it looks almost like a kangaroo or marsupial species. So this was the first depiction which was found from locality one, and as these valleys are basically called by different localities, there are 14 localities, and this was found from locality one. Then we started finding more of these kind of raised armed animals, which looked almost like a marsupial species, which has a longer tail, then standing on two legs, then raised arms, then rounded ears, and it has a rounded face. It looked almost like a marsupial or kangaroo, I mean to say. And this depiction, it is basically exactly looks almost similar to the kangaroo version. Why? Because it has some, they have depicted something within the belly itself. So it indicated, or it showed that uh, by our ancestors in Kurnool district, which is in Andhra Pradesh, they were depicting a marsupial species which is nowhere found in Indian subcontinent. So we don't have any evidence in fossil records or anywhere, nowhere in India we have these kind of depictions in India. So these marsupial species are basically found from Australia. As you know that marsupials are found from Australia. Apart from that, we have humans are depicted with raised hands, which looked almost similar to a particular area. I'll tell you where these kind of raised armed humans are depicted. I will show you those photos also. And another important or else unique finding was basically another species of what do you say, a drawing, which indicated that it looked like a Tasmanian tiger. So it has stripe marks, and if you compare it with the striped hyena, the morphological or else the different features associated with the hyena and Tasmania, if you compare it with those ones, you'll find that it has similarities with the Tasmania. So the Tasmanian tiger will have a stretched out and what do you say, straightened or else what do you say, rigid kind of tail, the hyena won't have these kind of tail, and it won't the hyena won't have right from the neck part till the tail part. You will find these stripings in striped hyena. So apart from this, the ears, if you compare the ears also, you will find it resembled the Tasmanian tiger. We have another example of raised arm human beings. There's a we don't know what kind of species of animals were depicted, and these are abstract symbols which we are not sure why they had depicted. And it is interesting to know that most of these rock shelters, wherever the abstract symbols like these kind of symbols were used, you'll find it is repeated almost similar. So it shows that it has some kind of meaning. So these abstract symbols had some kind of meaning, and there are few abstract symbols which can be seen almost similar to the abstract symbols found in European countries. Most of the European countries, you will find many abstract symbols can be compared with the Indian ones also. Okay, so why we don't know what those symbols meant. So here we have another depiction of, what do you say, marsupial species. Then apart from that, the red ochre, the red paintings, we have white color paintings which could be dated back to Iron Age or early historic period, based on the style and based on the themes. I'll tell you the themes and styles. So here we have lion, then we have rhinoceros, rhinoceros with a horn. Then we have, it looks like a horse, or it can be basically called as a zebra. So we are not sure whether it is zebra or a horse, but the facial features can be basically, it resembled more like a horse than zebras. Then we have fish, like fish have been depicted. Then we have another image of a bird species. Then we have the same hunting scene which is found in Bimbetka region, where you'll find a huge boar, which is basically hunted by humans. At the low end, you will find these kind of images, but stylistically they look quite different from these ones. But the theme wise, it looked almost similar. Okay, so we have turtles, few more turtles, and there's an interesting finding from Chanakapalli complex, where you'll find the lizard was drawn, and they were able to show exactly the same morphology of the kidney which is found in the modern, if you see the anatomy of the modern day lizard, you'll find the kidney in U shape. Same U shaped kidney was drawn, and they were able to draw the heart also, which looked almost similar. So they knew the anatomy of the particular lizard species and many other animals. I'll show you the examples also. Here you will find sea otter, like platypus, which is nowhere found in India. And these platypus will, here you have basically the beak part, bill, bill of duck-billed, platypus. The fins are also found here. Then we have a long tail, which is basically almost gone, but you can see the outline. So it has the nostrils also, which are basically exactly depicted in the same manner where a platypus compared with a chronology wise. We were able to date these rock art with the help of style, theme, and modern dating, absolute dating technique. So on the basis of theme and style, we had the earliest dated rock art could be dated back from this complex is dated back to Mesolithic period. Then we have, within the Mesolithic period, we have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. There were 3 phases within the Mesolithic, and we are working on. We had put a small trench in one of these rock shelters, and we have found the same kind of phases within the Mesolithic itself. Within the Mesolithic itself. So we have, from the earliest, it is basically flake based, which could be dated back much more earlier. Then it became blade based, and again it became bladelet based. So all these, in rock art also, you can, with the help of superimposition, with the help of theme, with the help of color, with the help of many other aspects, you can basically separate them into different categories based on these aspects, and you can date it. So on the basis of these, we were able to group them into different category dates. Within the Mesolithic, we had three phases. Then we have Neolithic, where again red color was used, standing on in a row by holding each other's hand. Then we have Iron Age period. Then we have historical period. Okay, so these are basically radiocarbon dating which we got from the excavation, which has yielded white ochre. So the white ochre painting which I had showed you, which could be dated back, as I said before, Iron Age or early historical period, we got a date of from that particular deposit. We got white ochre, which could be basically, which was dated to some around 3125 BCE. And this is the earliest dated Neolithic phase from Karnataka, actually Andhra Pradesh region. So we have Neolithic dating like from Andhra Pradesh. The dates of Neolithic range from 3000 to 1200 BC in Andhra Pradesh. It radiocarbon like observability dated site, which has yielded the earliest dated Neolithic phase. Okay. So let me basically start with whatever my theme was. So the what are these symbolic represent? Like as I said, as I showed you few photographs, there are like millions of photographs which we took, and there are like some around 500 GB of hard disk is full right now, and we are processing most of the photographs. So here we found out that like it has general features, and which spoke about the behavioral symbolic aspect or cognitive aspect of our ancestors. I will just start with that. So most of the like many of the rock shelters have symbols, abstract symbols, and they are repetitive. So you'll find most of the rock shelters will have similar kind of symbols. From Upalapadu as well as Channakapi complex and other places also, you will find similar kind of symbols, abstract symbols. So it had some kind of meaning behind that. As they were repeating the similar kind of symbols, that shows that it was basically universal. It was universal in for that particular area, for that particular micro level area. And that was most commonly found in the rock, these two complex. And apart from this, like from these rock shelters, you will find deer and antelopes were the most commonly depicted animal, as they were like easily seen, as well as they were hunting. They were much more preferred in hunting. So that could be the reason they could have basically preferred other animal over these antelopes. Then we have another important depiction, which indicates that a rodent species, the hunting of rodent species, how they hunted the rodent species. Let me show you the photo. Here you will find a rodent species with a raised hand, which shows that it is in a moving, like in a movement, and it indicates that it is basically running for in a motion. And on the lower half, you will find a noose. So this noose could have been used for basically catching this rodent species, and on the either side you will find nets. So this indicated that our ancestors were basically so much proficient enough, or else they were so they were so well, they used such a hunting tactics uh, to hunt different species of animals at this area. And the next is basically the butterfly, which is depicted. And from the butterfly, it's a rare species, where you'll find, like, the butterfly is not a rare species. The depiction of butterfly is a rarest one, because only from Madhya Pradesh we have the depiction of butterfly. This is the second region where we have depiction of butterfly. And this indication of butterfly could be indication of, as I said before, it is a valley. And you'll find within the valley small rivulets you'll find, and those rivulets are basically they originate because of spring activity within the valley itself. So these spring activity are not perennial, they are seasonal because of like a rain activity. So when it rains, these spring activities start it actively starts oozing out water, and at that particular time frame you will find different species of animal, different plant species thrived on that particular smaller micro level environment. And at that particular time, as you know that most of the flowering season might be basically during spring, or before spring or after spring, so during spring also. So the indication of butterfly could indicate that at that particular time frame, this valley could be basically more what do you say, habitable than any other time frame. So that could have been the meaning behind the depiction of the butterfly. We are not sure, like we are working on that. We are trying to understand various other depictions which are associated with these butterflies. Okay. So apart from the butterfly and the hunting scene of what do you say, the rodent, other depictions of basically saltwater crocodile. So we have the depiction of saltwater crocodile. Why I'm saying this as a saltwater, you know that basically like sweetwater, or else the river crocodiles will have a snout which are sharper and longer, and the saltwater crocodile will be basically, the snout will be, the mouth part will be rounded and shorter. By seeing the depiction of the mouth part of these crocodile, it indicates that they are saltwater crocodile. So apart from the saltwater crocodile, we have depiction of what is a boat with humans standing on the boat. Then apart from other than these boats, you will have basically many lines are depicted. We are not sure why these lines are depicted, and it has some kind of meaning because they are repetitive, and they have used it for some we are still working on that. Okay. And the depiction of what do you say, the marsupial species or kangaroo. So these are not a local, like it can't be found within the environment itself. Saltwater, Kurnool is some around 400 kilometers away from seashore, and boats are can't be basically navigated in smaller valley. And the kangaroo or else marsupial species are not at all part and parcel of this particular landscape. Then platypus, and there are few more animals which have been depicted, like the big-headed turtle. Before I had shown you the turtles, different depictions of turtles, and this entirely different because it has a big head and it has a long tail. And these big-headed turtles are found in South China. Nowhere in the world you will find this kind of big-headed turtle. So all these depictions are not at all basically part and parcel of this landscape. So why they were depicting these kind of animal species, we weren't sure. When we then we started working on that. When we started investigating more into this, as these were basically could not be a local available, and or our ancestors would have recreated by observing them. So actually, these animals, they weren't part and parcel of that particular landscape, and there is no chance that they were basically seeing those animals and drawing on the rock shelter. And the another reason might be, first reason was the depiction of these animals. For understanding these animals, the first reason could be this one. The second reason is our ancestors could have seen these animals at some point of time somewhere else, and they would have retained these images within the memory, and when they reached this part of India, they could have recreated it. Okay. So this is the next another possibility for which our ancestors have depicted those kind of animals, could be the reason. Okay. So if you dig into deeper, if you understand, trying to understand why they have depicted, for example, the marsupial species, we don't have a, as we don't have any marsupial species from India, any fossil remains. There is only one fossil remains dating back to Miocene period from Bihar region, which has been which could be dated back to Miocene period, and 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 the particular paleontologist, he is also not sure whether it is a marsupial species or not. They think that it can be a bat or a marsupial species. And so, as we don't have any evidence of marsupial species of fossil evidence, so like the best reason could be our ancestors could have seen at somewhere else and they could have recreated at this part of India. Okay. So, as I wanted to understand more, as I wanted to understand more into these things, further investigation were carried out, and we tried to understand, are there any other depictions or other articles which spoke about these aspects. When I started working on these things, there was an article by Wakankar who discovered Bhimbetka, and Wakankar had basically spoken about the resemblance of human depiction from Bhimbetka to the Australian depiction of human beings. This was done by Wakankar in 1976. And you'll find similarities and what do you say, influence of outside in two forms, size and in elements means in the form of human representation, animal representation, or whatever it is. So this was the depiction of basically the aborigines, depiction from Australia, which Wakankar basically said that these depictions from Bhimbetka could be similar to the depiction on the above one, which is from Australia, on the stylistic grounds. The next reference was made by myself. Then we have, after that, we have a new, a recent article which was basically published by Torzo and Mondel in 2021, which spoke about a two-horned rhino found in Bhimbetka, Madhya Pradesh and Raisin district. So this two-horned rhino is not at all part and parcel of India. So they are found in Sumatra. So these two-horned rhino were depicted in Bhimbetka region, Bhimbetka complex, and as they were depicted, when they started working on the cultural material, association of cultural material from Southeast Asia to Indian continent, they were able to see the resemblance right through the cultural material as well as rock, the stylistic representation. They were able to see the similarity. On the basis of that, they said that there might be basically a westward migration which happened from Southeast Asia to Indian subcontinent at some point of time. And so they basically started working on genes. When they studied the genomic, when they dealt into the genomic studies, they found out that somewhere around 10,000 BC, there was a haplogroup, there was a Y chromosome which migrated from South China, Taiwan and South China region, to the western part of India, to the central part of India, somewhere around 10,000 BC. This happened in 10,000 BC during Holocene period, early Holocene period. We have genetical data. Then on the basis of that only, they said that when our ancestors migrated from Southeast Asia, they saw these Sumatran rhino, two-horned rhino, and when they reached the Bhimbetka region, they drew that two-horned rhino and Bhimbetka. That's what they concluded. And on the basis of that only, they said that there was a westward migration which happened. So this is basically a two-horned rhino, which was depicted in Raisin district, Bhimbetka complex. So before that, I started working on different representation of humans from different parts of the world. So when I compared with the human representation from different parts of the world, for example, this is from Africa and this from America, you can see stylistically they don't look any. It doesn't have any resemblance. Then we have representation for from Europe, dating. All these representation could be dated back from prehistoric period till Neolithic time frame. There are few more depictions of Europe than Southeast Asia. So you can't basically compare it with like each stylistically they are different from each other. And this is basically depiction from Bembetka, and this is a depiction from Indian like Kerala region. Then we have Pachwari, then we have Uplapadu and Chanakapalli complex, which is the study area. Okay. So when there are many depictions of humans in Uplapadu, the study area. Here we have a depiction of humans. Stylistically, they look almost similar to this, like the way they sit, the way the genital parts are shown, and the way the raised hands and stylistically they have some kind of similarities. This from Chanakpakali and this from Australia, and these are dating back to 17,000 years before. Then there are kangaroos, which are basically the marsupial species which are depicted in Australia. And in this kangaroo, you'll find the raised hands are dated back much more earlier, dating back to some around 17 to 12,000 years before from Australia. Then later on, from starting from what do you say, later period depiction of kangaroos, you'll find most of the kangaroos are basically shown with a the hands are not shown raised. The hands are not shown raised. So this stylistical variation was basically studied by many scholars, and they said on the basis of the stylistic grounds and what do you say, absolute dating technique, they use uranium thorium dating and radiocarbon dating. They were able to get a date of all these depictions from different parts of the Australia. And they said that most of the scholars, Tychon and Chippendale and many scholars, they argued that they concluded that most of these raised hand kangaroos are much more earlier than the kangaroos which doesn't have any raised hand. Okay. So here from India, like from the study area, we have the raised hands, and the way the kangaroo looks from these kangaroo, like the marsupial species, are entirely different. It has it looks like a kangaroo, but the depiction of the kangaroo which are basically found in India, like from the study area, it doesn't look like kangaroo. Why? Because the reason might be, as they might have migrated from that part of world, as they move towards India, the memory could have been basically could be dwindling, or else it would have been basically what do you say, fainting as time passes. Because of that only, you won't find any morphological anatomical similarities of the kangaroo which are found in Australia. So on the basis of that, and the platypus which are found only in Australia on the eastern coast, and from what do you say, southernmost part of Australia, these platypus are only found in this part of the world, and nowhere in other parts of the world you will find platypus. But in India, or else from the study area, we have the depiction of platypus. And again, we have basically here you can find the spotted hyena. Here we have spotted hyena. Then we have Tasmanian tiger, which looks almost, you can see the tail, how they are depicted. And the tail, which are depicted in hyena and tiger and many other species, which have stripes, doesn't have, it doesn't have similarities of these kind of erected kind of tail, or else rigid kind of tail. They haven't depicted. So on the basis of these, like Tasmanian tiger also are found from Australia. Platypus is also found from Australia. Then marsupial species are also found from Australia, and these depictions are found from southern part of India. As these depictions are found from southern part of India, I hypothesize that like our ancestors at some point of time they could have migrated from Australia and they could have come back to India at some point of time, and the time could be basically could be somewhere around 20,000 BC. Why I said 20,000 BC? Because, and the big-headed turtle, here you can find the big-headed turtle, which are basically, this is a turtle which is depicted, the usual turtle which are depicted in almost all rock art from India and from the study era also. And there's a unique piece which is depicted in Uplapado, which has similarities of the big-headed turtle. And the big-headed turtle are found in this part of the world. The mainly the southern China, and recently you'll find like till the Myanmar, you'll find like the big-headed turtle, the extent of big-headed turtle in recent times. Beyond that, yeah, like in India, you won't find any big-headed turtle. So it shows that at some point of time, from Australia, they would have migrated through Southeast Asia, and they would have basically moved in and they reached the like Andhra Pradesh region at some around 20,000 BC. Why I'm giving this 20,000 BC is the depiction of raised hand, what do you say, marsupial are dated back to 17,000 BC, and the stylistically similar what do you say depiction of human which is found from Channakapalli from the study area as well as Australia, and these are also dating back to 17 or 60,000 BC. So all these, with these similarities which are found in Indian subcontinent, I conclude, like I hypothesis that our ancestors could have started migrating from the Sahul region and could have reached could have crossed the Wallace line at somewhere around 20,000 BC, and they could have crossed the Sunderland and they could have reached Indian subcontinent. This could have happened between somewhere around 25 to 20,000 BC. Why? Because this why I'm giving this date is because in 20,000 BC, because of what do you say, glacial time, glacial period, most of the land, this is a landscape right now, what you're seeing. This was a landscape which you're seeing right now, was created somewhere around 9,000 years before. And before that, you'll find there was land which was exposed due to lower sea level, and this happened in last glacial maximum at some around 25 to 24,000 years before. And all these land, as it was attached together, the Sahul and Sunda land, that could have been basically used by our ancestors to cross and reach India. Similarly, the study by uh, Chinese scholars, they concluded that we have evidence of Austro-Asian people migrating from southern part of China to India some around 10,000 BC. So based on the Y chromosome, they got this date, and they got these dates. So here we have dates like the Austro-Asiatic people from Khasi people. They could be dated back to some around 20,000 years before. And we have basically Nicobaris, which have the Y chromosomes dating back to some around 18 to 17,000 BC. Then we have Mundas from central part of India, which they could be dated back to somewhere around 13,000 BC. So this Munda, like the Munda people, the Mundas, they lived you'll find their habitation in Orissa and like central part of India. So that's where you'll find the two horned rhino was depicted. So on the basis of all these data, I hypothesize that somewhere around 20,000 BC, when the last glacial maximum was happening, when the sea level was low, they our ancestors could have started from Australia. They could have reached India by 20,000, and whatever they saw in between the migration, they acquired that knowledge, and they drew. They started depicting the same animals in southern part of India, uh, because like as the resemblance of these animals couldn't be basically the anatomical feature of these animals couldn't be basically exactly similar to that found in different parts of the world. That shows that as they were basically migrating, their memory started fainting of different attributes or its different anatomical features which they remembered or which they saw. Because of that only you will find the way they depicted these animals in Indian subcontinent from the study area. So with the help of these, like what do you say, rock art, we are able to understand what they were depicting, and various aspects related to their behavior, or else their what do you say, the memory aspects related to our ancestors could be basically peeped with the help of these rock art, and by studying the rock art in depth. That's all with that's all I will stop it. Thank you.
The floor is open for questions. Any questions? Author, the speaker.
So about the Bimbetka cluster and
Yeah.
this place,
Yes, sir.
what will be the approximate area? Both are same or bigger, smaller? Any analysis
Actually,
with
the
respect to the
Tibetan
area?
complex comprises of 5 clusters, sir.
No, sir. The total area.
The
That
total area,
cluster is spread in
like it is much more. The Kannur district is much more smaller,
smaller.
much more smaller.
And second thing regarding you mentioned that the paintings level
Yeah,
were so high.
yeah.
And you mentioned about the sedimentation,
Yeah, that's
which
correct.
has gone down over
Yeah.
a period of time. But
Erosional activity.
still, we are finding some human habitat evidences like bones and other
Yeah,
things.
that's correct, sir.
But if the water washes away the sediments,
Yes.
those things also would have been washed away.
So
So those evidence must be much later evidence.
no, sir, actually, like on these rock shelters, on the edges, you will find huge boulders have been like arranged, so that they had stopped, like when they were habitating these rock shelters on the surface of these rock shelters, they leveled the surface and they arranged the boulders in such a way that the sediment doesn't wash away. That happened, and because of these boulders kept, the sediments which were much more smaller, the silty or fine sand particles, they got washed away, and the coarser material like stone tools, bones, they got trapped, and they are found in right now where you.
That means we can take it that the paintings were made when the level was so high.
Yeah, that's
So
correct,
that
sir. Yes, sir.
easily
Yes,
they
sir.
can stand on the floor and
Yeah, that's correct, sir.
thanks.
Yeah.
Dr. Koshi, you were referring to the red ochre, the white and the green paintings.
Yeah.
Which of them are earlier? Are they equally occurring, or some of them are rare? Like, would you say that red ochre, finding a red ochre painting would be a rare event, or are they equally occurring?
No, actually, the black ochre is rare.
Okay.
White is quite commonly found, and they are found from later period, like Iron Age and early historic period. Most of the red ochres are usually dated back to Mesolithic period. But we have evidence of use of red ochre from historical period itself. So we have paintings from this region itself. You will find elephants and people riding the elephant and with swords and all. And you will find procession of human beings with a temple cart. Those kind of processions are also made of with the help of red ochre. So if you find red ochre, you should not, like, we should not jump into conclusion that they are dated back to Mesolithic period.
Thank you.
thanks for the excellent presentation. We've been talking about two types of dating, uranium dating and carbon dating.
Yes, ma'am.
For these rock arts, how do you extract the material, or because if it's any archaeological evidence like we found under the soil, it is easy for us to take it with hand, right? With the gloves and proper precautions.
Yeah.
But with rocks, how do you dig it and how do you go with the experimentation?
Actually, like we should not collect it. The experts should come and collect it, because like they have to basically peel out the outermost layer of the calcium carbonate, which got deposited over the painting. So they have to separate these these two layers, and with the help of different layers, when these layers are found, and how the amount of uranium, decay into thorium, they have to calculate those things. So usually we don't do it. It is done by physicists,
Are those geologists or someone else?
physicists and geologists.
Okay. Another question is, you have been showing the images or rock art pictures. I have been thinking this could be victory symbols kind of thing. Is there any relevance in your research that shows it could also be victory symbols, because most of the rock arts we see in the other parts of India, it indicates some like this Valari symbol. If it is there, it indicates a victory, something of that sort, right? Is it something relatable over here?
Actually, madam, you are talking about a time frame which is much more later. The victory symbols which are found in Indian subcontinent, they are dated back to some around Neolithic, or starting the late phase of Neolithic till historical period. So I have shown only the earliest phase, like the Mesolithic phase, where you will find most of our ancestors were basically hunting, gathering.
Okay, thank you.
That could be victory symbol. I'm not sure. I'm still working on basically why they have depicted all these depictions which are found in these areas. Like, we are still working on that.
Okay.
With the help of modern techniques, like with the help of stats, and with the help of each and every science.
Okay. And coming to your last part of your talk, usually when we talk about the South of Africa theory,
That's correct.
we say that the movement is from Asia to Australia, right?
That's
So, but your research says it is also the other way around.
That's correct.
So do we find such, like whatever we found in India or the other East Asia parts, do we find such things in the Australia region as well? Do you have any information on that?
Actually, in Australia, you'll find a similar kind of technique, like stone tools which are made by our ancestors, were almost similar from southern part of India as well as Australia. So in Australia, there is a stone tool which came somewhere around 6000 BC, and that was basically called as backed stone tool. But here in Indian subcontinent, that backed artifacts, the backed stone tools, which typologically called as lunate, trapeze, and different terminology we use it. But technologically, it is called as backed artifact. These backed artifacts from Indian subcontinent, they are dated as early as somewhere around 35,000. So, and in Australia, they are dated back to somewhere around 6,000 to 3,000. Before that, we don't have any backed artifacts from Australia. But it resembles, but our evidence is much more earlier, the dates. But recent findings by Chris Clarkson from northern part of Africa, dating back to 62,000 years before, he had dated a polished axis dating back to 60,000 years. So that is a unique thing. We nowhere in world we have evidence of polished axe used in 60,000.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Carbon dating.
Yeah.
But you are saying that heat treated tools can be carbon
Yes, sir.
dated.
Yes, sir.
How is it possible?
Actually, when heat, thermoluminescence dating is basically based on if anything is heated, anything, let it be organic or inorganic. It can be stone, it can be clay, it can be anything. So in order to date, if you don't find any carbon samples or any dating samples, you can use, if anything is heat treated, like if a particular place has hearth formation, hearth like a oven or hearth, something that can be used, that can be used for TL dating, thermoluminescence dating. So the thermoluminescence dating is usually used for dating potteries or any burnt like terracotta objects. But for the first time in Indian subcontinent, like I have used this technique, and they are finding it difficult to devise their own procedures. But in other parts of the world, you'll find TL dating has been done on lithics. So the dates from Jebel Irhoud, which is basically dating back to 3 lakhs years, the earliest Homo sapiens from northern part of Africa, that date was got from heat treated lithic artifacts. The same technique I am using here. We are waiting for the dates. So, and the dates will be much more earlier than what everybody is thinking. And we have got from different layers the heat treated lithic artifacts which are sent. From that layer, we have hematite which was used. The hematite could be used for rock art, or else could be used as a ochre to smear on the body. But they have been using hematite. So the used hematite have been found from different layers, and from that layers have sent us samples, which could be basically an indirective evidence to show that the use of red color, the preference of red color, could be going back to the date which comes out, and that could be basically somewhere around 40,000. That's what I am expecting. So based on the stratigraphy, based on the uppermost layer, which is dated back to with the help of radiocarbon dating, we have got a 3,000 years before. So based on these sedimentation process and everything, like I'm damn sure that it could go back to 40,000.
Yeah. On behalf of the ROJA MUTHIAH Research Library, I would like to thank Dr. Jinukoshi for presenting an interesting lecture on the rock art and rock painting of Kurnool district. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This is organized as part of Sandhanalakshmi Suganam Endowment Lecture Series, and we are happy that the granddaughter of Sandhanalakshmi Suganam, Ms. Samyukta, is here today with us for this lecture. And in this two-part lecture, tomorrow we are having 2 lectures to be delivered. Shanti Tippu and Dr. Kumar Akhilesh. It's about the prehistory of Tamil Nadu and prehistoric Stone Age tools. I'd like to invite all of to join the second part of the lecture also. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming on.